Hello everybody, this is Yogesh Joshi. I'm from India. I work for Tata Steel and oversees the entire communications activities at the group headquarters called Tata's. I work for Tata Steel, which is India's #1 steel producer and world's 5th largest steel producer. I also oversee and head the communications for the Association of Business Communicators of India, which is India's foremost body of communication professionals. It was formed in 1956 with an aim to promote corporate communications and public relations in India. Today we have more than 1,500 companies as members, and total number of members are more than 5,000. Last year we had 52nd annual awards night at the Hotel Taj, and every year we organize 1.5 day program and followed by the gala dinner, what we say as an annual award. I participated in this session that was talking about reputation management. Can it be managed? And I'm very optimistic that though there are lots of challenges in today's time in managing corporate reputation, it is not a difficult task at all, though it is a challenging task. And I'm very optimistic that with the tools that we operate in India, it is certainly possible for us not only to manage the reputation, but take it on at a next level. The first thing that I said, that you start with an image. When you have sustainable efforts, that image grows into what is called reputation. Now there are certain things. Reputation is not built in a night's time, it is built over the years. And I talked about the management aspect of the reputation. First of all, it is very important for any company to know as to who's their chairman, who's their CEO, who's their managing director, and what is the people's perception about them. Whether do they have creditworthiness, whether do they have dignity along with their personality. These are the things which have been minute very shortly and very properly and prominently by the entire investors class. If they know that the person doesn't have that kind of market standing or credibility, they are not definitely going to invest in you. Then the second thing that I talked about, the corporate social responsibility. This is something which is a sustainable effort. And I also talked about how we have maintained that. I have given one or two exceptions. One or two examples that Tata Steel was formed in 1907, and the founder wrote a letter to his son, who became the chairman of Tata Steel, the founder chairman, in which he stated that let there be school and colleges. I don't want only a steel plant. Let there be school and colleges. Let there be temples, mosques and churches. Let there be parks, playgrounds, entertainment clubs, marketplaces, so on and so forth, which is essentially talking about the corporate social responsibility. And he summed up his letter with a very beautiful statement stating what comes from society should go back to the society. The entire corporate philanthropy or the concept of corporate social responsibility was built on this one sentence for the House of Tatas. This is what is our philosophy, and we build the reputation on this line, and that is the reason as to why it is sustainable. Well, I again talked about one more project which is called Project Tejaswini. This is for the women empowerment. India, as I stated, lives in villages and towns. 70% India lives in rural areas. And we had this particular project which was essentially for those females who worked with us for years together as sweepers. You would call them as literate only because they know how to sign their name, otherwise no educational background. And we trained them to that extent that they became truck driver, crane operator, lathe machine operator, and started doing jobs like someone who's passed out with a diploma certificate. See, they come from a totally, I would say, illiterate background. It was more of a challenging task for a communication professional, that they are the people who come from a very orthodox society. They've never worn something like a normal dress code like a trouser and because Indian women wear a sari, and it was very difficult for them to make them wear a formal uniform with a kind of helmet. That itself, from that moment onwards, convincing them and finally see to it that they don't run out from this program, which was of 6 months to begin with and then spread over 3 years. This entire thing was done, monitored, convincing power by a communication professional. And when they came out with flying colors, though the training department was involved into it, this has been seen more of a victory of a communication professional. That is the role of a communication professional. We may talk of media, we may talk of a number of things, Twitter, this thing, that thing, Facebook, social media. But ultimately, if at all you are not being able to communicate, and that communication doesn't have a power of convincing people, then the communication entire system is a failure. And that is the challenging role of a communication professional. Well, I would rather say, and I have voted, that local and global goes hand in hand together. I'm telling you, when we acquired Chorus, we never had knowledge of the market of London or UK or their spread over entire Europe. I have stated very clearly that in today's time India is undergoing a kind of renaissance period, because most of the Indian companies have acquired companies abroad or started doing business abroad. Now it's a dilemma for them whether to train people within India, send them abroad and ask them to take those positions, or whether to hire the local people, tell them what is Indian culture, values, ethics, and then send them back again. I think both things, local and global, though people may talk and talk, my personal feeling is that it is a complementary to each other. One cannot survive without globalness, without having the sense, the ground reality sense of localness. This is my first visit to Moscow. Frankly speaking, I am yet to get myself acquainted with everybody. But I have been visiting Davos for the last 2 years. And I do see certain sparks at Davos, and they could be the communication leaders, not only of their own countries or territories, but communication leaders. They would be accepted globally. And one such person whom I have come across, and I have always been talking about, that the scientific communication needs to go to the common man, which doesn't happen really. And I have seen one person, Dr. James Gillies, who unfortunately couldn't make it to come over here. But I see that spark in him, and that there could be hundreds and thousands of such Dr. James Gillies. In fact, that this is something what they need to project globally. I wish WCF all the very best. Moscow, for communication professionals, visit again.